Y'all, it's a trail. I have been hiking on a trail uphill for about 2 miles this morning, and y'all, it's a view. So I'm pretty excited. Got trail, no road, some climbs, some views, and check out this little victory bell up here on this little summit. Woo! Heading down a side trail of blue blazes right now. It's been like old Jeep track up to this point, and now it's like dropping down the side of this little mountain here, but ooh, it's so pretty. Not a bad view, and pretty excited about having, like, you know, a spring instead of a cattle trough. So I'm not going to complain about the half-mile walk and the drop in elevation. All right, so it is a little ways down there, but that's it's okay. So I was thinking about it, and I think that is the first natural water source on trail, like the first source that hasn't been a cattle trough, like, you know, water pumped up out of the ground. It's just a natural flowing water source over the land. And I mean, there could have been some, you know, when I took some of the alternates on the official CDT, and there were some, like the Gila River alternate had the Gila River, you know, which is a natural source. But as far as officially on the CDT, that is the first natural water source that I have used, and it's like mile 550. I want to be where the people are, asking my questions and get some answers. Like, what's a cow and why is it, what's the word? Moo! You think I'm crazy? I probably am. So Perk is ahead of me. He actually left camp a couple hours before I did this morning. I just had a slow start, and Aaron is still in town. Apparently he's sick, not feeling so well, but I'm sure that we'll catch up with him in Cuba, if not before, and heck, Perk may be gone. I may not even see him until then. And, you know, I know people talk about solo hiking versus group hiking, and we are more like solo hikers hiking together, if that makes sense, more so than like a group. And I really think that if you're gonna hike with a group, that's really the best design. You know, it's kind of like everybody does their own thing, you stick together, you look out for one another, but you're not like obligated to always be together, you know, because that can have added stresses and things like that. So I really do love the way that we all kind of work together, but allow one another, you know, like that alone time too. With that said though, I hope that Aaron does get better soon. It's not fair, you know, he's kind of had a not so good stomach situation, I guess, twice now, but at least this one he was in town for. Since there was no fuel in town and I'm conserving what little bit I got at Pie Town in the hiker box, I had to get creative and do something different than cooking for lunch. So wraps and pepperoni and pepper jack cheese it is. Well, I have made camp, and I have been about, I think, like 12.5 to 13 miles today, which is pathetic. I was aiming for like more like 25. I think Perk is at least a half a day ahead now. He's, I think, feeling just fine and trucking ahead, but I had to stop and use the restroom today, and then I had to take some Imodium, which, if you're going to have any medicine with you, I would say ibuprofen and Imodium are two things that I'm not going to go backpacking without, and probably Tums. So, yeah, so Aaron's not the only one feeling not so great today. I'm not sure if he ended up staying in town. I haven't checked the inReach yet, another day or not, but anyway, so that'll put him a day ahead, or a day behind, and Perk probably at least a half a day ahead or so. But I decided to go ahead and just stop. It was starting to get dark. I was gonna night hike some, but just if I'm not feeling the greatest anyway, I figured I'd go ahead and go to bed, try to get some sleep, and see if I can pull a bigger day tomorrow. And we're like slightly in a hurry to get there, because the way that the timing is laid out right now, I'll get there Saturday afternoon and the post office will already be closed. So I'm just gonna have to pull some big miles to actually get there on Saturday by the time they close, or else
end up having to take a 0 and pick it up Monday or bounce it ahead. So I'm not sure yet what I will do. I guess time will tell and how I feel in the morning. Well, so much for a big day and an early start, because it's very late in the morning now. I set my alarm for 6, woke up, and passed back out. So I've had my coffee now, about to get all my junk packed up, and you know, I think this stretch with Aaron being behind and Perk being ahead, me being the monkey in the middle, I think I'm just gonna, you know, take my time and enjoy it. And if I don't make it in time to get my package, then I'll call and have them bounce it ahead. Like, just not gonna stress over it, just gonna enjoy this stretch and some alone hiking and just let it be what it is. How about this beautiful forest I'm walking through today? Not a bad thing at all, especially because my stomach still feels a little soured. Having some shade and some different scenery is probably a good thing. I see you. So I have spooked some turkeys and some deer this morning, and I'm so excited to be seeing wildlife. You know, when you've got natural water sources and tree cover, then it's amazing how the wildlife increases. But I guess that's another benefit to hiking alone that I've never really like put into words, but you know, you're more likely to see some of this stuff because you're making less noise, you're probably not talking as much, and even if you're not hiking right together, the first person in the bunch might spook, you know, everything off trail, and then the second person coming through doesn't see anything, you know, and forget it for the third. But anyway, so yeah, you know, if you're thinking like, oh, I'm afraid to be a solo hiker, there definitely are benefits to that. So don't let it shy you away. It's morning time, and today I'm aiming for probably about 25. Not gonna kill myself to get it, but I'm like 45 miles from Cuba, so I figure that'll give me like a 20-mile day tomorrow. So even if I could get like 26 today, it would only be 19, but we'll just see what happens. But the exciting thing this morning is I'm passing mile 600 of the official CDT. So yeah, pretty excited. Okay, come on. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Jackpot in the desert. Oh, thank you to the family who manages this. This is like a little slice of paradise in the middle of nothing. Wow. I think this stretch so far between Grants and Cuba has probably been the prettiest stretch, going from like a forested area back to kind of a desertous area and seeing some burn areas. I mean, you know, I know it's sad that when fires come through, but even if they're not started naturally, they are natural to, you know, just the way things are. And I mean, everyone knows like where one chapter ends, another begins, right? So when I see burn areas, I just try to like kind of keep that in mind. You know, yeah, this area has burned, and at one time maybe it was beautiful. You know, the trees were really pretty and everything, but it's a natural part of nature, and new life will regenerate. So. This by far has been my favorite stretch of the official CDT, and there have been some, somewhat natural water sources like springs, seen some forested areas, some awesome canyons and buttes and mesas, and the variety of this stretch of 100 miles has just been incredible. Only have about 22 to 23 miles to town tomorrow, and pretty excited to get there and kick back and take a rest, because I have been pushing hard the past few days, but it's actually felt good too, because it's been so pretty that I've just really been excited to see what's around the next turn. Well, it is town morning. I got 22 miles or so to Cuba, and I don't know, I find myself on like the day that I'm going to town, I find myself kind of reflecting on maybe things that I've thought about or lessons that I've learned in the last stretch. And I guess this morning I found myself thinking, there have been times in my life, especially like say, times that I've had my heart broken or, stuff like that I look back on the past, and I remember wondering, why that obstacle or why that bump in the road. Oh, speaking of bumps in the road. Anyway, I find myself, thinking about like, why did that heartbreak happen, or like, why did that unfortunate thing occur when it did? And, for example, in the past, if I hadn't had my heart broken and certain relationships had worked out, I might be settled down now with a family and not have done some of the amazing things and seen some of the awesome things that I've gotten to see. And it's not to say that I wouldn't have been happy, because I would like to settle down and have children. I don't know about the settle down part, but I'd like to get married and have kids and have people to roam with me. So I guess what I'm saying is, just because you're going through a troubled time in life doesn't mean that like great things aren't going to happen because of it. It's kind of like where one chapter ends, another begins, and where one door is closed, another opens. And just because at the time it seems horrible and it's like, this isn't what I want, something better might come of it, and you still may get the thing that you want. It just might be later and after you've had other awesome things that you want. So I guess what I'm saying is, even if you're going through a rough spell in life, you just keep knocking and slashing and reprioritizing and making sure that you are working towards what you think will make you happy. And I think that in this last stretch, that's kind of what I've settled in on. So, haven't always gotten exactly what I've wanted in life, but I'm kind of thankful for that. Well, back on trail after a glorious day and vacation in Cuba. Cuba, New Mexico, that is. So Perk left out yesterday from Cuba, probably a half a day or so before I did. I left out yesterday evening with Aaron, who hadn't left Grants
until either a couple or a few days after we did. And he decided in the last 72-mile stretch that he was gonna catch me if I took a zero in Cuba. So he ended up hiking 72 miles without sleeping. So that's insane.